Ça va aller. Je vais t'aider.
Stay nighty night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me while I'm alone and blue as can be. Little dream of me.
Look. Overall in games, each of them have given me a different sort of perspective in it. There have been many that I've played that have really shaped my view on games overall. Call of Duty is probably the biggest of them. So simple for some formats, special modes, and campaigns always have captivated me. Far Cry 5 was my first open world that I probably had the experience of. Of course, I got the other Far Cry 5s after that, Far Cry games after that. It's all been very different, but this was my first proper feel of open world. Red Dead Redemption 2 gave me a larger feel of the open world and variety and in story. Such a captivating story. It's a shame I got corrupted. Doom Eternal. A game for whenever you want to just feel like the badass. You don't have to just work your way up. You are fucking badass. And a game of just pure fun and adrenaline. That's what it should be. But there is one game though that stands out to these. I got it around 2017. Unfortunately, I didn't play it that much at the time. Well, I did when it was really when it wasn't as popular, but I enjoyed it. I really did. A lot of people did as well. I've adored it for so long, and seeing it come to the state it is, where no one's really playing it except on a few custom games and slowly losing popularity, is kind of sad. That's Battlefield 1. You might have seen me do videos on Battlefield 1 on my channel before. Mostly operations. Haven't really gotten much views. I haven't really done an operations video in ages, to be in fact. But I wanted to come back to it today because, well, it's a game that honestly it's probably the most unique I've played. One of the most unique I've ever probably seen. Basing the game in a time that's barely even covered at all. World War II is covered. Modern history, Vietnam, hell, the Cold War. There's so many wars that have been covered in games, but World War I is one that's never really seen much. And this is why I'm going to talk about why Battlefield 1 is such an important game to me. I give it a little send-off because I can clearly see where this is going. For Battlefield, anyway. What's interesting is that throughout this, you always die. You can last out for a good little while, but you will always die in this section. Well, obviously your last character, possibly. But it will show your name when you die. This happens throughout the rest of the mission. You'll play a small section highlighting what the war is like, and then you'll die. It's not really that much, but it really does show what this was like. Just another soldier fighting for dear life. In this last moment here, it slows down so you can take in what's happening. If you imagine to get the few shots that you're able to hit. Then you get surprised, with artillery, and then we get this really beautiful scene between two soldiers at different sides.
They push. We push. Every once in a while, we push hard enough that the light breaks through the clouds. And a world beyond the war glimmers, just out of reach. The war is the world, and the world is the war. But behind every gun sight is a human being. We are those people. We are the jaded, we are the naive, we are the honorable and the criminal. We are the bound for legend and the lost to history. We are the knights of the sky, the ghosts in the desert, and the rats in the mud. These are our stories.
Right away, this very first mission sets up what the rest of the game is going to be like. It's going to be hard as nails, truth to the tone, war stories. These scenarios happened in the war. You could just play Storm of Steel and you would be immersed anyway. But the stories have a sense of their own uniqueness. It also gives different types of gameplay variety. You've got Modern Blood that's focused on a tank. Friends in High Places that has you more experience with planes and aircraft. Avanti Savoia has you with an armoured suit and a special kind of unit. The Runner is more of a messenger with the force of Gallipoli. And Nothing Is Written is you are a character alongside Lawrence of Arabia trying to liberate local people of the underneath the Ottoman Empire. Another thing is that Battlefield's campaign is probably the best out of any of the Battlefields overall, because I hate to be a bearer of bad news, but campaigns in Battlefield have usually been utter garbage. Especially Battlefield 4 and Bad Company 3. They were shit. The only thing that comes close to Battlefield 1's campaigns are The Last Tiger and Battlefield 5. The Last Tiger and Battlefield 5 was really, really good. But now we're going to move on to the actual smaller war stories themselves. So we're going to cover 3. We've already covered 1, which is Storm of Steel. We're going to cover Avanti Savoia, and we're going to cover The Runner, because those are probably my 2 favourites. Modern Blood is good as well, but I didn't really quite catch the message there. Friends in High Places sort of associates how some of these war stories have a sense of telltale to them, not entirely true or false, but it's up to the person who's experienced it. So they could be telling an entire lie or truth, but you'll never quite know because you weren't there, were you? And Nothing Is Written, I'm guessing, has a feel of family and realism with the people. I didn't quite understand it. I mean, it was alright for what it was, but We're going to focus with Avanti Savoia and the runner here. Now admittedly it's a bit ridiculous with this mission because you do have AI soldiers with you, but you feel more like you're a fucking Terminator at this point, solo, because you're given a massive middle skill armor. Now they were real, but it's just they kind of dumbed it down with so many enemies, but we'll ignore that for the point of the main reason here. Matteo is meant to be part of an Anditi. No, not Matteo, his brother. Matteo is the brother, but the guy here, I forgot his name, but which are a special unit who can help his brother trying to help him with his unit get to the fort, but they've got another part of the Austro-Hungarian armies causing some issues. But we've got this guy here to help us. Although it does get even more ridiculous here with him by himself with a singular artillery turret taking out an entire bomber craft plus a good few attack planes, which is a bit redonkulous if you ask me, my friend, but I'm guessing we're just gonna have to ignore that. Although to be frank here, this scene right here really fucking made me cry at the time. He believes that he'd almost found his brother. Right here, unfortunately, is the sad part. His brother's dead. Now, the story itself is pretty good for what it does, although its mission's not that great in terms of how it does. But you could probably summarize the story with this quote right here.
He never got older. And here I am, still. Who decides such things?
We come to the runner, which is, I believe, the third or fourth war story in BF1, and it takes place, as obviously as you saw in Gallipoli, 1915. This is, or I'm pretty sure it was, in the world record at the time, the largest sea invasion in history. Obviously, D-Day will dominate that. We follow our boy Frederick Bishop, which is meant to be an icon in Australia during the war, and he has a new boy for us. He's apparently a fan of him.
I suppose so.
Jack Foster. I'm your new charge.
But he doesn't approve of this statement.
You have to take this kid off.
Of course not. He came all this way just to see you. Frederick Bishop, the pride of Australia. He lied about his age to get past conscription.
Big fucking muppet. Not long after, we are tossed right into the combat after our boy Frederick and the newbie launched an artillery strike from the fucking dreadnoughts. We are pushed right through into the upper trenches of the hill and to take the hills from the Ottomans. It's quite a nice experience because the last time we were like in the trenches, it wasn't really much in mud and blood, and Storm of Steel had more of a flat sort of ground for us to deal when it comes to the trenches, and most of the time it wasn't really much in the trenches at all. There was only like 2 bits overall. But this tosses us in that experience of the trenches. The mission overall, or the missions, each have different
kinds of styles and segments. This one's actually probably my favorite out of them. Probably because it has like the most sort of action, and it was my first proper like better experience with a bolt action rifle. It was quite fun. I also managed to hit a couple shots with the rifle that I really thought were at the time were pretty dope. I'm gonna say so myself. During this point, Frederick's taken the building, and then we get a nice little moment between him and Foster.
Fucking kidding me. Come with me. Here. Look at that, huh? Kid, you lied your way into hell on earth. You just wanted a statue of yourself in your town square.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
Come on, kid, get up. Come on. Come on.
I'm gonna die.
No, you're not. You're Australian. We're impossible to kill.
Yeah. I guess so.
So after just finishing that section, you are ordered as the runner to go deliver some message back and forth via the other ends of the village, which is quite interesting. I like that sort of style, having us to make us go back and forth. It's pretty strange, but I like it. And then we get a moment with Whitehall, Foster and Bishop with understanding orders from rear end.
Fucking hell, you could have killed me.
But I didn't.
No, sure fucking didn't. Nice shot.
Oh, well, you know, I just kind of saw him out there and I...
You got falling lines across the board. That's what I thought.
Bishop, go tell rear command that we'll be moving up.
Don't worry. I can handle myself here.
Head down, gun up. No open areas. Got it?
Got it.
So at this point, we are told to go tell rear guys to let us know that we're going to move up. So we come over and tell the rear end, like, we're going to go up. But then we see this.
For those who didn't hear from a runner, the Allied position is lost. Artillery fire ordered to cover retreat to beach, shelling the village and outlying forts. Shit. Foster!
Full scale retreat. They're gonna shell the village and the fort to cover us. We need to get out, now.
I sent men up to secure the fort.
A dead man? Who went?
Only those who volunteered, so naturally all of them.
Fucking kids.
Well, you remember being his age?
Foster. Fuck.
At this point, we get one final moment between Bishop and Foster that really nails home the message of the runner.
There's still hostiles coming and...
The message of the runner is passing on the torch from the old to the new, passing on memories and their responsibilities, and of the keys to the future, to be able to look after the future, and to better for the future.
I'll make my retreat then. Oh, so you're disobeying orders now?
Well, I assume you did to come here.
It's also quite a nice small interaction with Frederick and Foster, especially with this happy moment here.
Yeah. You're a proper Aussie now. Gotta look the part.
And then after that, well, it's a different story. After a solid 50 minutes, and by the way, I'm sorry there was a bit of a delay there to talk, but I thought I'd let you take in, like, obviously, the game and all that. After a solid 50 minutes, and yes, that is in the actual game time, of taking out enemies and storming up the fort solo, which is a bit ridiculous, but Battlefield, they have moments like that, but After a solid 15 minutes of storming through men to get to the fort position, Frederick has captured the fort. The flag of Australia flies high. That badass score. You think Frederick's gonna make it? But he doesn't. It all seems quite sad at the tone set, with obviously Frederick dying, but there's one small sign of good at the end. That right there is legit one of the only few times in a Battlefield game when I've ever shed a tear or two. The only times I've ever shed a tear in Battlefield games overall was the ending to Avanti Savoia, this, The Runner, and The Last Tiger, and that's in Battlefield 5. And Battlefield 5 stories, all of them except for The Last Tiger, are pure utter garbage. But the main thing here is that it's really surprising that Battlefield, the last times they've made stories within their games, they've usually not really done so well or have come close to Call of Duty's. But Battlefield 1's stories, they haven't risen as far up as like Black Ops 1 or Modern Warfare or anything, but they're probably a lot higher than World War 2 or Infinite or Ghosts or Modern Warfare 3 or Black Ops 3 or hell, even Cold War. Cold War had a good campaign, I'm going to say that quickly, but I didn't really like it that much. But anyway, to the main point. The war stories in Battlefield 1, they're remarkable. They really are. EA, I will admit, they are greedy fuckers, but when they made their effort in this game, they fucking nailed it, so props to that, I'll give you that. Now, we're going to move on to the multiplayer experience, which unfortunately might not vary as much, because one of them is Operations and old footage, and one of them is Conquest that I recorded 3 days ago. So unfortunately it's not all that great. But we will get to that multiplayer, because frankly the experience of multiplayer on Battlefield 1 is, as of every Battlefield, fucking dope. Battlefield 1's multiplayer is quite expansive for what it is. The main modes are Conquest and Operation that I play. The others are okay for what they are, but I honestly prefer Conquest and Operations. The massive expansions of the entire map is something that Call of Duty cannot rival, even with Modern Warfare's released. For the effort that they made with it, it's really impressive with what they did. The game overall is a major success when it comes to the multiplayer, as per usual with Battlefield's games. The weapons are actually pretty dope, to be honest. All of them have their own significant classes: Assault, Medic, Support, and Scout. And within each of those classes, there are a variety of weapons that are truly surprising. So I'm just going to show a couple of screenshots to give an example of how many kinds of weapons there are for different classes. This is assault weapons. It's got shotguns and SMGs. This is the pistols. That's for all of them, by the way, for all classes. This is for squads, by the way, just let you know when you have your teammates. And this is also LMGs for support. And you got the anti-tank gun, which is actually pretty cool. This is an anti-tank rifle that you can have on you that you'd have as assault. Assault is explosive and close quarters damage. Medic allows to heal people and provide health kits. Support gives ammunition and high heavy fire with their machine guns, and scouts have long range and they can mark separate enemies from long distances. Now onto the game modes themselves. Conquest is basically the whole of the map spread out with a number of objectives, either 5 to 6. Two teams have to either take all the objectives or get a certain number of points to win, which is absolutely a dope game to play. On to Operations. Operations is probably like my favourite game mode overall. You basically are playing a moment in history here. You are redoing a moment in history within this operation. You are either the attacking force, which is meant to take the objective, or the defending force, which henceforth, well, kind of defends the objective. It's like Conquest, but it's not as far spread and automatic as Conquest, where it's right away you have access to the full map. This one takes its time and it progresses. If the attacking force is taking the defenders too easily, the defenders will get an upgrade or a backup. But if the defenders are doing too good, then the attackers will get Behemoth, or it will get an upgrade like some sentry kits. By the way, I'll talk about that. Sentry kits or tank hunters or trench raiders are special kinds of kits that you can have to give your character temporarily for a certain amount of time, obviously until you die, which can vary to sentries, both with a Vilipasaur, which is a double clip SMG, and a MG08, which is a big machine gun. The tank hunter gives you a massive one-shot anti-tank rifle that nearly one-kills everyone except for sentries, which require you to aim for the head as always. It can take out planes within at least 6 shots sometimes. It can take out tanks with around 12. Trench raiders are basically just armoured small boys, a smidgen, and they can run in and they have a club or semi-auto shot. No, they have double-barreled shotgun, sawed off. They just bolts right in and just try and clear out trenches, hence the name. Overall, the multiplayer for Battlefield 1 is just absolutely a blast to play, and it gives the experience that frankly brought me into the interest of Battlefield overall. So that is my basic summary of the multiplayer in Battlefield. It just really captivates me of how they've done all the effort within the maps and the wide space and the guns.
Battlefield 1... what an experience, I tell you. Unfortunately, you might not be able to see it in its greatest glory as it once was, but you can kind of play it now, although I wouldn't think it's that much better than what it once was, so you can still get it, but the work is there, and it really is a good game, but by this point you've probably missed out on all the good stuff that's already happened with the game, and it would make oneself a bit sad that it's come this far. And yet here we are. All I can give now is a wee last message that was done by Battlefield itself. So I'll say a few last things at the end, but until then I'll let you see this little clip that I managed to edit all together from both the game and my own storage.
Day, all this will be over. The war to end all wars will be won by one side or the other. The guns will rust, grass will grow, and there'll be nothing left of any of this. The land will heal itself, as everything does in the end.
It's time I told you what happened to him. It was during our last battle together. Just a few days after
They'll be long gone by then. History only remembers 1 in 1,000 of us. Then the future will be filled with stories of who we were and what we did, how we lived. How we fought and how we died. When this is all over and the war is won, they will remember us. But until that day comes, we will stand. We will look death in the eye. And we will fight.
This is one last message for Battlefield 1. I'm going to give this personally to him, so I'll word with him first. Goodbye, old pal. I'll try and play a couple of games with you at some point, maybe this week, but not sure how long you'll last. Well, this is